Safety Commission meeting for January 2025. I call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. First order of business is find my agenda. um, Establish a quorum. So we have Commissioner Warby, Commissioner Cruz, and
Al Crooked.
Rica, right? Yeah.
Right.
And Commissioner Rica. So we have an agenda. We have a quorum. So item 2. Um, so it's turning off too. Let's see. Motion approves agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay, the agenda is approved. So we'll move on. Item 3, public input. So public's invited to present petitions, make announcements, and provide other information to the commission that is relevant to the scope of authority of the city of Blue Lake that is not on the agenda. The commission may provide up to 15 minutes for this public input session. To assure that each individual presentation is heard, the commission may uniformly impose time limitations of 3 minutes to each individual presentation. The public will be given the opportunity to address items that are on the agenda at the time that the commission takes up each specific agenda item. So at this time, if you would like to stand up and go to the podium and state your name for the record, if you have any public input.
Get your mic on here. Press the button about 2 seconds. There you go.
Hi. So I just looked at the agenda and I'm a little bit surprised that
Can you state your name, please?
Oh, Erin
Just for the
McClure.
recording. Okay, thank you.
I'm just a little bit surprised that there's nothing on the agenda about the illegal fireworks that went on during New Year's Eve. So usually at New Year's Eve, somebody blasts off some illegal fireworks at about midnight, but they started at 8 o'clock and they went to about 1:30 in the morning. So not only is that illegal in our county, but it goes against our ordinance in our town. And so I'm just wondering I wanted to start with the Safety Commission and find out what your thoughts are on that, or if you plan to do anything about it. My thoughts are that maybe we could start with city employees, at least, that are blowing off fireworks. In like 2018 and 2019, maybe Mandy and I ran around town trying to stop people that were blowing off illegal fireworks. And the city engineer actually was one of the houses that was doing it mostly, and he's continued doing it. And I filed a grievance against him at that time, probably 2 years in a row. So maybe we can make an example out of someone like that. I don't know, but I think a lot of us are in agreement. I just talked to Mandy on my way in, and she is too, that probably something needs to be done about this. Any thoughts on that, Jason?
Um, we'll answer questions after all the public input is. We've gone through all the public input.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Rebecca Collins. And I just wonder if this project is in the scope of your Health and Safety Commission, of the Safety Commission. Because I can't really get what the scope is of the commission. So I just want to know if concerning the safety of the battery installation facility, if that is in your scope of being a liaison between safety and the community.
Okay.
So that's my question.
Okay. Is there any other public input? Okay. I mean, I'm not really sure that fireworks are illegal. We have a city ordinance saying they're illegal. I know, I mean, I'm opposed to them. City doesn't like them either, but I mean, I don't know what we can do as a commission. We're not law enforcement. I believe it's an enforcement issue. So it's not just this county. I mean, it's everywhere. It's not, I mean, the city. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're open to any kind of ideas if people come up with them. I mean, I don't know what I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm not gonna. I personally am not gonna run around and citizen arrest people, but I think it's law enforcement issues personally. But um, anybody else have comment on that?
I can just say that, we've been dealing with this, for a really long time. I think, obviously, probably in the last 10 years, I think the types of fireworks has exponentially increased in their capacity, with the mortars and, obviously those are completely illegal in the state of California. So they're coming, across state line. People go to Nevada, they go to different places, Washington, to be able to purchase those. Um, I mean, they are extremely detrimental not only to animals, but also to individuals, especially people struggling with PTSD and other mental health issues that is exacerbated. I personally, watched my animals, practically stroke out, over New Year's. It's terrible. It's a terrible thing to watch. Unfortunately, one of the things that really up against is you don't ever know when they're going to go off. You don't know who's setting them off. And by the time they've been set off, it's almost impossible to get to the location or identify the location. A lot of times you can't even identify, from the sound. You may not even see something, but the sound, especially in Blue Lake, because we are kind of in this valley bowl, the sound travels. Something that might sound like it's, very close might be happening actually in Glendale. So it's just been something that seems to almost be unenforceable. I know law enforcement is extremely short-staffed. We've talked with the sheriff's department, routinely and repeatedly to ask for more enforcement. But if you look at their call logs for January 1st for New Year's Eve, they probably had hundreds of calls for firework calls all over the county, and it's like that for every law enforcement agency in the nation. Um, so I'm not really sure what the solution is. I think that on a larger landscape, there needs to be more enforcement of the purchase and trafficking of illegal fireworks, and that probably needs to be looked at, on a larger enforcement level. I know in 4th of July, it's a huge concern for potential fires. All the fire departments are, concerned about that. People get hurt, people, get injured as well. But I really don't have any good answers. And I think every municipality and community struggles with the same issue, and every law enforcement agency struggles with it as well. Um, I know that they do make some enforcement. Actions, but I think it's pretty rare. So like I said, I think on a larger landscape, maybe there is legislation or something that could be looked at, especially from the rural communities, to push legislative language forward to have a higher level of enforcement or to take it more seriously, maybe to up the enforcement actions or the fines or the jail time associated with the trafficking of illegal fireworks. Um, but I really don't know the answer. I wish I did, because I absolutely hate the 4th of July now. I never get to do anything on the 4th of July because I have animals. And so I literally sit at home waiting for all of it to happen. And I pretty much hate New Year's Eve for the same reason. So um, I understand the concern, but I really don't have good answers. I wish I did. I wish I could stop it somehow. I just don't know what that looks like. We're open to suggestions for sure. I think that's absolutely can be something as part of the Public Safety Commission. And if you wanted to, like I said, I think people are always open to ideas. I'm open to ideas. And yeah, if that's something the Public Safety Commission wants to do, I think that's a great idea.
Saw some people by finding out that they were turning them into law, maybe the law didn't have time that day to come out and speak about it, but they did come out the next day and find people. And it did put an end to some of that county spending.
Well, I second everything that was been said on this issue. I mean, we have dogs and cats and 5 dogs, and they just went frantic on New Year's Eve. I was, so, and the enforcement is difficult. So I think making it a community issue is the way to go. And, petitions work. So if all of us with this feeling could get 10 signatures and turn it in and get 60, 80 signatures in town, and maybe we could get one of the newspapers to cover it, are trying to do that because we need to do something for the critters.
Something we can keep on the radar for the commission to keep, keep conversation going. And we're always open to ideas too, if anybody has any. So, yeah, go ahead.
I've just wondered if we could kind of expand
Can
on
you state your name for the recording?
Elise Scapani.
Okay, thanks.
If we could expand on the idea of people getting together and going, riding bikes or driving cars around town to identify who's using the big ones, the big mortars and whatnot. And, if we could get a group of volunteers that were willing to do that, I mean, it'd be a lot easier to do it around 4th of July because it's later, maybe. But it seems like that's a place to start. Get a community group going, to go door to door, to ask people to stop, to identify the people that are using the illegal stuff that's so harsh, and you go from there. Because I mean, from Facebook, it looked like there was a lot of people that would really like this to. There's a bunch of people that think it's just fine, but there's a lot of people that really would like it to stop. So I think we might get some cooperation there. Might be able to make a difference that way.
And I do think that if it was taken off of Facebook and made more into the community, people would probably respond better because there's a lot of keyboard warriors.
Sure.
And that's yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of surprising what people say sometimes. It's a little disturbing.
Yeah.
But it really is dangerous, and we don't. I've never seen these mortars. I've never been anywhere where somebody lit one off. I don't have no idea what they look like, what they can do. How dangerous they could be for the people in the vicinity if they blow up the wrong way or something. But just from the sound of it, and I imagine those where I live, there's a hillside next to me, and it sounded like somebody was lighting them off in the street right next to my house. But I realized later that I don't know where they were, but the sound was bouncing off the hill. And having somebody in my family who has PTSD and having dogs that don't tolerate it, hours and hours and hours of that is a lot to put up with. So,
Our
thanks.
our house has been hit by the mortars. Someone set it off in the alley and it fell over and hit our house where our bedroom is, and we thought we were being shot up. It was very scary to be woken up to that.
Yeah, that's
So
so scary. Do they make is it a light thing or it's just sound?
it's a light thing too, but when it first goes off, it's the big boom, and then when it gets up into the sky, it lights up.
Not all of them though. Some of them are just the sound.
Oh
Some of
yeah,
them are just the big
ones that are
booms.
the cannons.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And so as far as the scope of the commission, so we're an advisory commission to the city council. So the city council pretty much tells us what they'd like us to work on. Usually our liaison or the city staff will instruct us on that. I usually go to city council meeting once a year and get our agenda for the year approved that we've come up with. As far as the battery storage plant, I mean, that's absolutely something that we will advise on. It has been brought to our attention at one point and we've discussed it. And I mean, it's something we can discuss and then our ideas go back to the commission for approval. Kind of thing. Yeah,
Go ahead.
anything from, riding your bike to school or, sidewalks and street lights and everything safety related.
When the Public Safety Commission was originally formed, it was formed mostly with the intent to negotiate the sheriff contract. And over the years, that that kind of changed and morphed, and we expanded the scope of the Safety Commission to be more expansive. So to look at public safety on a larger landscape, including, like Commissioner Cruz said, pedestrian safety, health and safety issues, the law enforcement contracts and different things. So yeah, it's well within the scope of public safety to be able to look at those impacts. And so, yeah, they'll definitely be involved. And we hope to, bring back more information. You guys will definitely be having some town hall meetings. We're hoping to schedule some tours of some of the local facilities to be able to really, see what these facilities look like and, talk to people who, deal with them on a daily basis and stuff. So that will all be coming to the community as well as to the commissions. Yeah.
All right. Is there any other public input before we move on? All right. So we'll move on to item 4, commissioner resignation, discussion, and action. So we have, I don't know if we really want to call it resignation. There's 2 commissioners, their terms were up, and decided not to um, serve another term. One of them was me, and one of them is Phil Nava. So there'll be 2 positions available, right?
Uh,
3.
3.
Yeah, 3 positions available now, since we already have 1 empty. So tonight will be my last night as the chairman of the Public Safety Commission.
I do not accept.
Sorry, I've been doing it almost 8 years now. It's just got a lot of personal things I need to deal with. So thank you guys for letting me be here for so long.
Yeah, well, thank you for all that you've done, Jason. You've done
Thank
a
you,
tremendous
Jason.
mission in the community.
You'll be back for the annual meeting, right?
Yeah, I did talk to Molly, and I said I would work with her on putting together the annual meeting like we did this year with the helicopter and all that stuff. So we'll continue that on. But
Thank you for your service.
So that leaves you guys without a quorum for the next meeting if we don't get some applications.
No pressure.
So spread the word. These have all been advertised. We keep our Madiac posting updated. Anytime we have a vacancy, we update that. So we're in compliance with our postings. So let people know we do have a council meeting at the end of the month. And so the council at their regular meetings, they do review applications for various commissions. So if we can get a couple of applicants in, we could make an appointment in January. So you would have a quorum in February. If not, we'll have to just postpone the meeting until the next month.
I spoke to 2 people over the past month, asked them if they would serve. Both thought about it and decided not to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know what to do.
It's tough. It's tough to get people to serve on commissions. But it's only one meeting a month.
yeah,
That it's great. Yes.
there's a
Well,
there's a
I-
great reward though, serving your community.
Yeah.
I do have a question. Non-residents, people outside the city limits can
Mhm.
serve on the commission, correct?
Yeah, I
One.
believe you guys have one.
And that would be
So,
my position.
mhm.
You can have one person outside this within a sphere of influence, but outside city limits.
Okay.
And that was my position because I live just out a mile down the road. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there any public comment or any more discussion on this item? All right. Item 5, road construction and traffic calming project update.
Yeah, so we are kind of at the end of the Greenwood truck route project. So I wanted to just kind of give you guys an update of where we're at.
Phase 1.
No, we are phased out. We are finishing up the striping and finishing up putting the reflectors in. The painting crew was out today. It was still really wet, so they were trying to dry everything out there. A lot of the paint is the thermoplastic, so it has to really adhere to the asphalt. So they tried to do as much as they could in areas where they felt the moisture content was acceptable. We're doing some curb painting. Um, so kind of our last punch list items are going to be looked at tomorrow. We'll do a walk of the route with our engineers and the contractor, and just kind of look at areas where we have some deficiencies or things need some changes. Including looking at the landscaping. We have a couple places of the sidewalk that have been nicked. Um, and then looking at kind of our final budget, we have a little bit of money left over in the budget. So looking at what additional safety features we can put in. We're looking at some additional painting on the roadway itself just to gain more attention to people about the speed limit. We have the flashing radar signs have been installed, and they did the outline of that crossing today with a thermo. Unfortunately, because it does have concrete in between the concrete doesn't, ad- thermoplastic doesn't adhere to concrete very well. So we'll be painting that. So that will be done. Um, all in all, I think it came out great. The contractor did a really good job. The sidewalks are amazing. If you've had a chance to walk up them, you don't really get the full effect until you actually just walk up the sidewalks and just see how wide and smooth, and there's no cracks and there's no tripping hazards, which is amazing because a lot of our sidewalks in the community have a lot of issues. They're old, things with tree roots and just settling and just aging infrastructure. So to have that large of a section with all brand new sidewalks, all ADA compliant, the expanded sidewalks on the west side, so that the kids are all riding their bikes on that side. So that's great. And having those expanded and enhanced crosswalks as well. So I've seen a lot of people driving really slow. I think having the two speed bumps fairly close to each other, people are kind of just like going over one and then just kind of cruising to the next. So we've seen a real reduction in speed in those areas in front of the school. We still get the people who kind of speed this corner. And I, you know, I, I guess we can't account for, they're probably the same people that let off mortars. I don't know. So it's unfortunate, but we're doing what we can to try and slow people down and just gain more attention that this is a multimodal transportation route. So we're kind of wrapping things up, and it'll be nice to kind of sign that project off and be done with it. Um, a new law came into effect regarding red curbing around pedestrian crossings. We knew it was coming down the pike, so our truck route project is all designed, and the curb painting is all designed to comply with that. But now the city public works are going out and looking at all of our crossings to make sure that um, you know our current curbing infrastructure is adequate. I think we'll be seeing lots of additional red curbing taking place. We do all of our own curb painting, so when things dry out, we'll go in and start painting and applying those new standards. So that'll be something that's coming down the pike. Um, and then we will be looking at the installation of the mini roundabout up by Kim's house. We did receive that Caltrans or the HCOG grant to do that project, and looking at some safety installations along I Street, I Street, as well, because that's another route that's a big, wide route with no traffic breaks, and a lot of people use that area. So that's on our list as we move into spring to take on some new projects. The truck route phase 2 going to Hatchery Road has been designed and sent off for review. So we'll be looking at funding applications to try and fund that next phase of the project as well. So um, those are kind of the traffic calming projects.
Is
We
that second phase just from Biscuit City Hall to the next corner?
Yeah, it goes up to the bridge.
All the way to the
Yeah.
bridge.
Hmm.
Okay. So
Yeah.
there's only two phases then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully, unless I mean, it kind of depends on what kind of funding comes in. So, but this project took us a long time. It took us years to get the funding for it. It was 1.5 million for construction, and I want to say like 200 plus thousand. It was about almost 1.8 million for, with design, permitting, engineering, environmentals, and then actual construction. So it was a big chunk of money for a little town to receive. And so, you kind of get in the hopper and then you just start kind of making your way back up the funding cycle. So it could be several years before that takes place.
For the phase 2.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's all I had on traffic.
Question regarding the mini roundabout. Sorry, am I not allowed to interrupt?
Yeah, no.
Are we still gonna have the neighbors come in
Yeah,
and
absolutely. So that will be a fully engineered project. So we actually have the money to be able to look at that, bring the neighbors in, look at the impacts, actually engineer the project, so that when we did the pop-ups, it was just to kind of see, would they work, how did people react to them, and get a little feedback. But the idea with this grant that we received is to basically kind of create like a template, of the mini roundabout template that could be applied and adjusted as needed to other areas in town. So we're going to use the area by the post office as kind of our first project. So we'll put a lot of effort into making sure that it, works correctly, it's designed correctly. I know that the novice had a question and concern about by the bridge and their area. So we've talked a little bit about what would be some options to be able to kind of create a buffer. And but ultimately, we really need to slow people down in that area.
for sure?
The road's in pretty bad shape. I just drove through there yesterday, and that'll probably be our next project, to do some paving in that area, and then redo those little speed bumps. But what happens when you pave areas is people go faster because they don't, no one wants to go too fast over the potholes, and it's harder to drive around them when you're going faster. So we need to balance those repairs with some type of installation to slow traffic down.
Yeah. Thank you.
We are also looking, at making the area from Hartman up to the boulevard as a one-way as well. So it would be a one-way coming in. Right now, it's just in a kind of a precarious, um, quasi-legal scenario with people going from Hartman onto the boulevard because they're entering a pretty high traffic area and the visibility is really poor. And so it's something that would help that area to reduce the traffic, going out
Mhm.
and only make it an inflow. So that would take a lot of the usage off of that road, which would be really helpful too. And it would also create a much safer area. So that's something that we're kind of looking at in conjunction with the roundabout, is how to kind of change that whole, transit structure in that area.
Wonderful.
If I may suggest
Mhm.
that you allow it to be Hartman to be two ways from the post office to the second street that
Right.
connects with it to the left when you're outbound.
Yeah, yeah, that would be the intent, is to kind of make that split there. Yeah. I think that's all I have in traffic calming and road construction.
On the road construction, is there public comments on the road construction? So,
I was wondering if any changes are going to happen in terms of painting or the curb out here at the driveway, since the driveway to come into City Hall has gotten so much smaller,
Hmm.
and you still see the arrows that make it look like there's another lane, but there's not. So I'm wondering if that's going to be managed somehow with paint so people don't accidentally run over that curb in the dark or light.
Yeah, so that all of the curbing will be done this week, and so that area will be striped as well. And we did talk about removing those arrows, and we specifically narrowed that driveway up because we have so much usage now of this space, especially when they have like food for people and the clothing exchanges, and we were having people still coming in both directions, and it just, trying to keep everyone safe that's using these parking areas and the lot for different types of activities. Creating a much narrower driveway precludes people from, swinging around and coming around the other way, and it kind of discourages people from coming into the space. So we did specifically narrow that driveway down on purpose, just to enhance safety. So we will be curbing that as well.
Okay,
We'll also be curbing out front for the transit stop as well by the bus stop.
thank you.
State your name just so we can get it on the recording.
State your name, state your business. Cat,
Thank you.
safety. All right. A couple of things. And I apologize if it's already in the plans and you guys know it and I'm just now catching up. On the road, coming down here on Greenwood, I think you guys said something about that thermoplastic paint. And are you maybe going to paint 15 miles per hour on the road? Is that one of the things y'all are thinking?
That is one of the ideas is to paint the
That'd be
speed
cool.
limit. So we just have
Yeah.
to clearly define the actual school zone because the 15 miles an hour is actually a school zone designation. And so
Mhm.
we've taken the position that our school zone is enhanced because it is our safe routes to school route up to from City Hall going up. And so we've kind of
Yeah.
expanded that somewhat. So
Mhm.
one of the engineers is looking at making sure that we can make that reduction and be able to legally defend that position. So
Yeah.
Jordan's working on that, but that is one of the things we'd like to do is put that speed limit in the thermo. So,
Great.
yeah.
Great. That would be nice. Especially we had one even extended right here in front of City Hall. Anything to encourage them. Also on the paint, um, I don't know if this is also in the mix for you guys, but the new speed bumps that we have up there. And it's great that we have that paint going across, but in the dark and when it's wet, you can't tell necessarily that it's a raised elevation. Whereas I think over at the park they have those arrows that kind of
They
indicate
just
it
got
comes up.
painted today.
Oh, awesome! I haven't left the house. All right, that's good. Then a couple things you may not have picked up on. Um, the bump outs that we have, and where those bump outs aren't contiguous with the sidewalk. So you have sidewalk, then you have drainage area continues, and then you have this bump out. The way that they were formed, literally and figuratively, is it comes to a sharp point where the concrete meets from the curvature to the straight line. And this came to my attention when I was parking in front of my house, and my front wheel hit that, and it was really jarring because it comes to a sharp point. Maybe they could consider cutting those back a little bit, so we don't have the sharp edge for a skull or a tire or a person to hurt themselves on. Had I hit it with a little bit of speed just right, it could have popped my tire off. So that would be something I'd maybe have them take a look at. It's not hard for them to cut the concrete, they got the tools. And then the other thing that I've noticed is East Street. So we have Greenwood right here, we have the curve, and the first left would be East Street. If you're on East Street and you're going to take a right onto Greenwood Avenue, now we have that new sewer or drain inlet right there. It's raised, so stands up about
Hmm.
6 inches. Um, and what I'm seeing is that it's because East Street is so wide in that location, and the asphalt has kind of extended way over to the right. It kind of naturally people like to cut corners, and your rear tire, especially on a trailer, will hang up on that drain. If you're taking that right hand turn and coming back. But if the line was kind of brought over to the left, more to the middle of the road, that places the vehicle in a better spot to turn right and not catch that raised sewer inlet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think we're still kind of working on East Street on that whole configuration. And
Okay.
we've talked about that about maybe making that just a pedestrian space and different things. Just
Mm-hmm.
because the site visibility is so poor coming around that corner,
Mm-hmm.
trying to kind of discourage people from probably making that right hand turn because
Mm-hmm.
everyone coming to turn out is going to swing further out into the oncoming traffic. So
Exactly.
it's not really the most safe place. And so that is something that the engineers have been we've kind of just struggled with it a little bit through this design process and
Mm-hmm.
thinking about um, using some other type of feature, whether that's a large scale planter or something to maybe shut one of those lanes down and make it only a come in and go out like a
Mm-hmm.
one way instead of that two-way traffic there
Mm-hmm.
because it's that corner's still just dangerous, with the trucks
Yeah,
and stuff coming across. And some of them are the bigger rigs cut that corner anyways. And so if you have a car trying to come, take that right and you've got a truck coming
exactly.
across, it's just not really the best location. So I think the ultimate um, fix for it will probably be to make that a one way.
Hmm.
And just kind of shut that side of the lane, maybe make that more of a pedestrian path, like closer to your area,
Hmm.
and you would have that for your parking. But probably that will be something that in the spring that we'll look at a
Okay.
little bit more heavily.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, I don't know if it might be a good place if that's where maybe some of the red paint or something that might
Hmm.
catch the eye, because there is, as you're saying, there's so much to look at when you're in that corner.
Yeah.
It's easy to overlook it. I'm so paranoid with my trailer, I haven't caught it yet, but I'm already seeing tire marks on
Mhm.
that sharp 90-degree turn.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I
Thanks.
got. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any more public comment? Okay. Okay, we'll move on to item 6, the discussion regarding law enforcement services and future partnership considerations. Um,
Yeah, so just to give you guys an update, we haven't really done much over the holidays. Everyone just kind of took a little bit of break from this. I know Trinidad I think they have hired a new city manager, so they have kind of, a lot that they're going through to kind of get caught up on things. Ferndale took the idea to their council and received authorization to continue discussions. Chief Sly's been doing from Ferndale's been doing a lot of outreach to former deputies who've worked in the area, different law enforcement officers who've had some interaction with Blue Lake, just trying to get a little idea about the community and kind of law enforcement services. So that's been good. I've been forwarding him also our call data and statistics so he could just kind of get a feel for, what's kind of going on in the community. We're going to be meeting I believe, January 23rd, maybe. We kind of wanted to bring everything back with the city managers, the risk managers, and the police chief of Ferndale, and just kind of see where we're at, see where the discussions are going, and kind of come up with a game plan of moving forward. So I hope to have something more for you guys in February. And I know that looking at having an ad hoc, um, it might be. Um, it might be a better time since, hopefully we'll have some additional commissioners and I can kind of bring everyone kind of up to date on what the discussions look like. And then maybe moving forward with your ad hoc at that point to be more involved. Um, but right now, I don't really have much more to report. I have been, looking at funding sources and opportunities if we were to take this on, partner with Ferndale. Do have to come up with resources to have a vehicle and some additional um, resources for deputies, including just kind of desk space and things. So I've been just kind of researching what our options are. There's some grant funding available that I think we would be able to apply for and be successful in receiving. So it'll our contract with the sheriff is up in July or June 30th. So that's right around the corner, it's around the corner. It's not too far off when you're looking at trying to create a new program. So we've got a lot of work to do this quickly, but we'll see. So I should have more information for you guys in
we have to
February.
be able to pick the hours the deputies would be, or the officers would be patrolling,
Yeah,
so we could put
yeah.
them patrolling during 4th of July.
So right now, the concept is that Ferndale would be providing law enforcement services to the city. They would be hiring additional deputies to be able to patrol Blue Lake. And if Trinidad chooses to also go in on this deal, they would do the same for Trinidad. So if Trinidad were to be part of this proposal, they would be hiring. Chief Sly right now thinks he would be hiring probably 3 deputies. He's got his own, I think he's got 5 deputies in Ferndale. So that would give him, a pretty robust, roster. And that way, they could decide if someone's on vacation, they can backfill. If someone, if people wanted to kind of change up their location, maybe they want to work maybe a month in Blue Lake or, so it gives a little bit more flexibility. It gives him the ability to, staff these positions and just provide a little bit more opportunity for his deputies as well. But it also gives us the opportunity to really work with Ferndale and talk about what our needs are. So this would be looking at what our patrol schedules would look like, what our needs are. Um, and we've talked a lot about community oriented policing, so working with the school, cops on the street, cops on bikes, just making more outreach, being available during events. So if it was New Year's Eve, maybe we would have our own deputies here that could be enforcing, the fireworks ordinance. That would be something that we've never had in the past. Even when we had deputies for Blue Lake, they were never here on those, they always got called out to the greater county region.
And
So
all his deputies are firefighters as well, aren't they?
yeah, that's one thing that I thought was really great. He really encourages his deputies to participate in the fire department. He said our guys are here all day long, and a lot of the firefighters, are working out of the area. So he encouraged his deputies to get involved with the fire department. They work really closely with CERT as well. He's got a really good CERT team. They're really proud of their CERT team, and we've got a really great CERT organization as well. So that was a great fit. So yeah, so there's a lot of good crossover thought process. Our communities are fairly similar in size, population. They have a much larger business district. Our community is very residential based. It's very densely populated, just with single family residences. So seeing that seems pretty comparable. Um, but yeah, you know, we'll see how that conversation continues to evolve. And I'll have more to report to you guys, and then hopefully have more opportunity for you guys to be more involved in that process as well. I think once we get to a point where we're really looking at what the needs are, that's really where Public Safety Commission will play a much larger role when we're looking at, um, times and days and really what are those needs of our community. That's where you guys will really be involved in that as well. So
Then a public comment on this item? Okay. Any more discussion? All right, we'll move on. Item 7, Humboldt County Sheriff Call Data Review. Discussion and recommendation.
I thought the sheriff's revised format for what we got was really wonderful. I thought it was done very quickly, and I believe it came out of the November meeting, that the public record, the comments in during that meeting. And I thought it was wonderful that they took the initiative, and I found the November information to be very informative, very helpful in my new position here on this, giving me a very good view of the city of Blue Lakes law enforcement needs. So I wish you thank Sheriff's Department for us, because it was a huge improvement.
Um, yeah, and he just pulls this off the Citizen RIMS
Mm.
program, right? So
Yeah.
anybody can get on the Citizen RIMS program and type in the parameters you want, and it'll show you where it'll plot everything on the map for you, and where the crime is and the calls. So, but he provided maps for us this last
Mhm.
agenda.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that I appreciated too is that they're able to synthesize this information down just to our city limits, where the larger, call logs that we get, we have to go through and, extrapolate which calls are in city limits, which ones are outside, which we are still receiving, but then with their incident report, they're able to, just kind of peg it down to city limits, which I think presents a much clearer picture of our community and our community needs. When you look at that, when you go from, you know, multiple pages of call data down to, a incident map that has, pretty limited numbers of incidents, I think it's a much clearer reflection of, the what's happening in the community. So,
I also greatly appreciated the call types that was on the very
Mhm.
first page and the number of the different type of calls that occurred in November. I found that very helpful, and I thought it was a great thing the sheriff's department did.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and looking, I don't know if you guys had a chance to really kind of look at, um, they put out like the little heat map and stuff, and just kind of showing areas that have a little bit more intensity. But I mean, it's the heat map might produce a high intensity area because maybe you got two calls, instead of one. So um, you kind of have to take that with, and really kind of look at those numbers. But I didn't really see anything out of the ordinary. It seems pretty routine from what we kind of see month over month.
Well, I have to say that any town that has more livestock problems than violent crime, it's my type of town.
We'll take it. Yes.
Is there any other discussion on this? Any public input? All right. Oh,
I just wanted to share that after that November meeting, I did share the video of this meeting with the sheriff's department. And I asked them, I know that they'd been approached about it previously and weren't able to work on it at the time, but I shared that video and the commentary that went with it with the sheriff's department, asking if they could work on the report. And this is the results of that request. And so I just want to share with you guys that I know there's been some friction in the past, but I think that there's really good potential for working with the sheriff's department. Um, if we can all get on the same page and work on that cooperation piece. So just wanted to share that with you. And as far as the vacancies, I would like to read the really quickly. The membership to the Public Safety Commission shall consist of 5 members. No fewer than 3 members shall be residents of the city of Blue Lake, and the remaining members must either live, work, or conduct business in the geographical area encompassed within a 3-mile radius of Blue Lake City Hall. Preference will be given to those living within the city limits. So it's a 3 and 2 mix when you're chatting with your friends.
Thank you.
all right. Agency check-ins. We don't have anybody from Sheriff's Department, but we have Blue Lake Fire here. So let's see what's going on.
Hello, everybody. I'm Talia. I'm a newly promoted battalion chief with the fire department. I also brought my newly promoted engineer, Jarrell Bello, with me. I brought the call logs from the start of October. I couldn't remember when the last meeting was, but I brought the call logs from the beginning of October until the 25th of November. We've had 5 calls for fire incidents, 19 for rescue and EMS calls, 2 for hazardous conditions with no fires, 3 for service calls, 25 for good intent calls, and 4 false alarms or false calls. Um, if anybody would like any further details about what those mean, I would be happy to oblige. We also have an event coming up on the 25th. We're going to do a silent auction and spaghetti feed. All the proceeds are going to go directly to the fire department. We're hoping to do some improvements to our very old, decrepit buildings. So if you would like to come out to support, we would greatly appreciate that. We have all donations are coming from local small businesses. And anybody can purchase tickets from any of our firefighters, or they can come to the fire department to purchase those tickets. We can purchase it the day of. We're trying to get pre-sale to know how much food we need to make, but absolutely purchase it.
And that's it. All right. Nobody. We don't have any other agencies here for check-in. Is there any public comment on agency check-in? Item 10, reports from liaison and staff. So,
Thank you,
I
guys.
thank you guys. Are you here as a liaison today? So you can go first.
Mostly told you most of what I had to say, but do you guys have any questions for the council?
Not at this time.
Okay. Um, there should be something. It's not in my brain at the moment. Well, thank you for your service, Jason. Appreciate your time that you've spent here. And we'll look forward to seeing you at the special events. And thanks everybody else for hanging in. And we'll try to get the membership bolstered here so you can keep on going. Thank you.
Your turn.
Oh, I'm
You're
sorry.
I was letting you finish your notes.
Jeez. Let's see what is going on. Well, we wrapped up all of our holiday programming, thankfully. We made it through the holidays. We had lots of fun inclement weather. But our tree stayed standing even though it was good at times and the lights got blown around a lot, but we kept it lit, we kept it standing, so that was great. We had our little parade. We had the horse story tour. We lucked out again on the weather. It actually was a beautiful evening, and that was another great event. Um, Probably thinking about next year. Um, it's such a great event, but it also makes me really nervous, just safety wise. I always work the front up here um, to keep traffic from coming in because we shut down the road. Um, and it's probably the thing that gives me the most angst and worries me the most is just thinking about someone ever driving through that with all the kids and people and um, thinking about what happened recently with recent events, with an individual driving through a blockaded road. I think this coming year we'll look at more robust safety installations. Just keeping that on our radar because you just don't really know, and it's every year I have people that try and drive through it, and last year I even had someone who like kind of nudged me with their car coming up. I had to keep my hands on their hood. People want it like I just want to come through and it's so that'll be something that we'll think about doing making that a little bit more of a solid installation. We put out barricades and cones and signs and have people stationed, but I'm just not sure that that's adequate for how the event is growing and just becoming more and more popular. But all in all, the events were great. We had a wonderful holiday dinner. Um, we'll be starting in the spring back up on the bike park project. That project is, if you guys haven't had a chance to see it, go check it out. Even though it's covered with tarps, it's really amazing. We'll be launching some more fundraising soon. We've got a long ways to go, but it's so much further ahead than we had anticipated. So it's a great project. As far as anything that has to do with public safety, I would just say, we've had some flood issues. We're continuing to kind of fight the creek until we can get some restoration on the creek and get some of that sediment taken out and some of the vegetation. Just kind of the city, we cleaned out our sections of the creek. We did a big clean out by the town square prior to just kind of actually right at the end of summer. We cleaned all of that out because that was a big problem last year. So, trying to continue to maintain our sections to reduce flooding potential. But, we've got a lot of private property along the creek and just trying to help out those private property owners to reduce those flood impacts as well is something that's, it's on our radar. We try and do what we can, but it does, it does overcapacitate us as well. So we're hoping that, we're kind of, maybe at the end of these big, large rain events, we're just getting so much rain all at once, where before we would have, 3 or 4 days of steady rain. Now we're getting, 3 and 4 days worth of rain in, 12 hours. And, it just really impacts our stormwater systems and things. But luckily, we seem to, we're doing okay getting through these events. We're pretty limited. We have, 4 guys, 5 guys in our public works department. And so when it rains, Glenn's out there looking at, the lift stations, and we've got people, out making sure our stormwater system's okay and our wastewater treatment plant's okay and there's not trees down and stuff. So they do a lot of work um, through these events. And so they're pretty tired, but they did a great job keeping everything going. Other than that, I can't really think of too much on the radar right now. We do have the battery project. We'll be starting, um, uh, more investigation and of that proposal as we kind of move into the new year. That'll be really interesting to kind of see, what information is available. And like I said, taking some site tours, getting you guys information, getting the community information, and staff learning more about the project as well. So um, that'll be happening as we move into, kind of move out of winter and into spring.
How
Um,
big's the proposal? Like, is it just one Connex box type?
Yeah, it's really small. It's, what they're proposing right now is to purchase 6 acres of land from the city. The power plant site down there right now is just a little over 20 acres. Um, they're proposing to purchase 6 acres. The phase one project is a 12 megawatt battery storage project. These are lithium iron phosphate batteries. They're not the traditional lithium ion. Um, and the containers are 6 feet wide by 24 feet long. They're kind of pedestal mounted. I think they're 8 feet high. And they're proposing the first phase is, I think, 8 of those, 6 or 8. Um, very small, probably, it wouldn't fit just in this room, but pretty close. And then the next phase would be 100 megawatt installation. And I think that goes up to, what, I'm not even going to say how many. It's not that many more. It's a pretty small footprint. Yeah, I was actually really surprised. They're actually smaller than the Connex boxes. Originally, we were looking at, it's just kind of the size of a shipping container. But they've actually gotten smaller and more efficient now. So, pretty minimal footprint. The idea would be to appraise the 6 acres and use the appraised value of the 6 acres to go against the cleanup of the site. So if the 6 acres appraises for $1.5 million and the cleanup of the site is $1 million, the city would get the residual value of the 500,000, and the site gets cleaned up. So the site cleanup is not getting really any cheaper. And we've been estimating, the whole time for it to be around 850 to $1 million. And we actually designed originally with the Storyland project, where we looked at the master planning of the site for the RV park and campground and recreation. We actually designed in a battery storage project. We identified kind of the space. We knew we were going to need probably 5 to 10 acres of land. So we kind of carved that out in the design and put most of the development further to the west. So everything that we've looked at over the last 5 years, as far as development opportunities, has all factored in the idea that a battery storage project would probably be our best opportunity to continue to participate in the renewable energy sector, and also hopefully bank um, on getting the site cleaned up. So we did factor in to the original projections for the RV park, the actual cleanup. So we did factor in about $850,000 in upfront costs that would have to go as part of that project for cleanup. if we weren't able to attract some investment. But hoping that, the substation and the interconnect would have enough value to that we would, be able to leverage that. So,
Is
um,
there still interest in recycling? Like, I thought there was possibly people that were interested in just scrapping the place.
yeah, I mean, that's all factored in. So, when these demo companies come out, so Power Transitions, they're getting bids from demolition contractors. And what they'll do is they go in and they evaluate the site, they evaluate the materials, the equipment, everything that's left on site, and then they value that. And then whatever's left, is kind of the scrap value. So it starts to bring the more value is in the plant, the lower those demolition costs, because they're going to be using, so essentially you're just you leveraging the value against, the stuff that doesn't have value. So yeah, so that's all factored in as well. But yeah, it needs to get cleaned up. It's definitely not something that we want to continue to have sit out there. It's going to continue to degrade. It's going to continue to have problems. And so getting it cleaned up really is, it's important. So I think that's about all I have.
Question about the rain runoff. Are you aware that the culvert under Hatchery Road there, just at the start of the Power Creek District, is backed up? It's almost full
The big
stone.
culvert at
Yeah,
the split.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and it's slowing at that
Mhm.
bend. It's slowing the creek down. And after the heavy rains this past month, it would crest, the runoff would crest the bank to the Hatchery Road side of the
Hmm.
creek during that strip, and
Yeah.
then run all the way out to the street. So I think they have to look at getting a berm along that side of the creek to and clean that out down there because that'll really help the.
Yeah, that's all designed into. So right now we have a large grant with Bottlewatt Watershed Council. And so we've been designing and engineering and going through the permitting process for a full restoration project. And that'll remove all of the excess, materials, clean out the invasive vegetation, install fish habitat, and create more of free flowing creek. As it's been impacted over the years. The city used to go in and dig that out a lot more. Um, I think we used to even dig it out and use like the gravel and stuff from it, in on various projects. But because there used to be a big hole right behind the horse arena, because we used to swim our horses in it, and now it's like this weird confluence of stuff because it hasn't been dug out, because we're just not allowed to take out, like, you can't come because it's an anadromous stream. You're really restricted on what you can and can't take out of the stream bed. So we go in and we remove, the small diameter vegetation and, do what we can. But in order to come in and really get out all of that excess material, we have to do that as a bigger project. So it is being designed, engineered, permitted. We have about $900,000 right now, that's going into that project, and then we'll be going to construction. So but it's not going to help us tomorrow, is the problem. So, and it probably won't help us for another 2 years. So we've, trying to figure out some of these smaller maintenance projects. When I did the cleanup of the creek behind the town square, I have to get online and I have to fill out a permit application and pay the fees. And, there's a process you go through, and that's pretty much what the private property owners are going to have to do, or the city's going to have to figure out some way to help facilitate that, because we're just not going to be able to go, do much more if we don't get in there and fix the issues. It's just a graded, it's just filling in and it's rising up, and now there's not enough flow capacity to hold those floodwaters. So it's definitely a problem, and it has a big impact to us too. We have a huge I&I problem, with wastewater treatment plant. It's like we get all those floodwaters, so that creek is flowing right into our storm drains, and all that water is going to our treatment plant. So we're treating stormwater, and that's not efficient, and that causes this whole skewed, result of like how much wastewater are we treating? And it's not actually wastewater, it's stormwater. So, but when you look at our capacity of our plant, we have to then take into account those numbers. And so it makes the efficiency of our plant go down, and it also makes the capacity of our plant go down. And so that's something that we've been really looking at is, you know, that I&I problem. And we do have a stormwater grant that's been funded, and we're just waiting for the actual money to come down. But we've done the analysis, and there's some big repairs that need to be made to accommodate that. But every time that creek floods like that, it's going right into our stormwater system and then going right to the treatment plant. So it's a problem for sure.
Any public comment on item 10? All right, so
Comment a little more about the stormwater. I mean, I kind of assumed stormwater was not needing to be treated, so it was going somewhere other than the.
So some of it goes out the creek, but when it starts infiltrating into our stormwater system, that goes back to the plant. Anything that comes into the plant has to be treated. So we can't differentiate. So when you're getting our inflow and infiltration issues with the I&I problem, we can't control. So basically, you have breaks in your system. And so that stormwater is kind of coalescing with your wastewater systems, and it all goes right back to the treatment plant. So anything that comes into the treatment plant goes through a treatment system. So we're literally treating stormwater that at a high level that you would be treating wastewater. So it costs money, it impacts to the system, it makes our capacity look like it's impacted, and so it's a big problem for us when we get these high flow events.
item 11, future agenda items and announcements. Is there any future agenda items that you would like on the next agenda? Anything from the public? All right. What's that? Battery storage. If that's going to be coming up as we get more information, we'll be definitely in a loop on that. And we're going to keep the fireworks situation as well. Is going to be coming up as we get more information.
Rebecca, do you know if we can go and look at the BESS at Mad River Hospital? Do they ever would they accommodate that? Oh. Mm-hmm.
But you can, their Tesla,
Yeah.
I don't think it's the same. I haven't actually seen what they're proposing on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I think
Okay.
that
Yeah, it'd be nice to talk with maybe one of the operators or something too, just because I think you guys have one, St. Joe's has one, the airport. We'll be able to tour the airport microgrid and BESS project as well. And then the Rancheria has a system as well. So, and then I think there's one going in at Sun Valley Floral. They're putting in a solar and BESS together. So we should be able to go around and look at a few of them and talk to some people too. Yeah.
I mean, 100 megawatt, 100 kilowatts, it's not
Hmm.
well, I mean, they're just like oversized containers.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what these look like too.
And I don't know if they're LiPos or.
Hmm. Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I think the more that we can look at, the better.
Speaking of agenda items,
Mhm.
when I was going through the November sheriff's report, I realized looking at the call types and so on, that not all the call types require law enforcement. If you had a public safety officer dealing with livestock, if you had that making the I don't know if it's legal at this point, but if it is, doing the welfare checks and so on, just a public safety official, that would be a lot less expensive and get the same job for those non-criminal activities.
Mhm.
And I would like to have a discussion on the Public Safety Commission about the possibility of structuring our public safety response with that in mind. In other words, dividing out a livestock problem calls in, you call out the community representative. and you won't need the law enforcement for that. Right.
Yeah,
So
and I know the
does that,
sheriff runs community service officers as well, and with that's kind of the intent of that too. Is it's a lower level. You don't have to have the same deputization requirements, and they come out for a lot of tagging vehicles. Public. They'll come out and take a report.
much less insurance costs,
Hmm. Yeah,
all ways,
yeah.
every way.
Okay. Well, if there's no other future agenda items or comments, and I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second.
All right. Thank you guys for coming.